Hi again, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. New episodes dropping on YouTube every Friday, and our radio show airs every Saturday morning, 8:30 to 9 o'clock on LI News Radio 103.9 FM. I'm Peter Schwartz, joined as always by Vinny Tickets. Vinny, good to see you as always as we continue to roll on during these NFL playoffs and we count down to going to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl.
Can't wait to go to Vegas. A couple of great games this weekend.
Yes, some Championship Sunday on this coming Sunday, and then we had some pretty good action in the divisional playoffs this past weekend. And on the line with us to talk about at least one specific team that advanced to the Final Four of the NFL season is former Jets and Chiefs fullback Tony Richardson. Tony, it's Peter and Vinny. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Hey, Peter and Vinny. Peter, it's always good to see you and talk to you because you always have that wonderful smile, and it's great to talk to you. How you guys doing today?
Well, we're doing great. You know, that smile grew over the 3 years you played for the Jets and the 2 years that I covered you for WFAN, the last couple of years you played in the NFL, because you were always such a pleasure to be around. And you brought that infectious smile, too. And the Jets always picked you to talk to the media the night before a playoff game because they knew you weren't going to say anything stupid.
Yeah, I mean, that's, obviously I've always, respected Rex, and, I always felt like that being an honor. And I really got a chance to enjoy it, and I got a chance to really meet the media. It was a good time.
We'll talk about the Jets and their offseason in a moment, but let's talk about the team that you are in the Ring of Honor for, the Kansas City Chiefs, advancing to the AFC Championship game against the Ravens. Let me get this out of the way right off the bat.
Uh-oh.
Have you become a Swiftie?
I knew that's where we were going. To tell you the truth, I have not become a Swiftie. I think sometimes there's a little bit of overreaction because now, like, even people in my building, I just moved to Jersey City. And, there's a few people here that, know I'm a former Chief, and they're like, man, I sure hope the Chiefs don't go to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, well, why? It's like, I'm so tired of seeing Taylor Swift. I'm like, listen, she is one of the most popular people in the world. And she did very well over everyone's like, well, Travis Kelce helped her at her concert. I was like, no, I think she was doing pretty well without, before she started dating Travis. But, I have not converted to a Swiftie, but it's a pretty good story.
Yeah, well, who are we to get in the middle of and stop a pretty good love story? But and it involves football as well.
Yep.
A lot of people going into the playoffs didn't think the Chiefs had a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. There were some struggles during the season. Even Travis Kelce had some trouble finding the end zone there the last few games of the season into the playoffs. But here we are talking about the Kansas City Chiefs right back in the AFC Championship game against the Ravens. It's all Patrick Mahomes knows. What did you think about their run here to the title game, and what kind of a chance do you give them against the Ravens on Sunday?
Well, that's the biggest thing is you mentioned Patrick Mahomes, and that's and I can't say that I was able to see the future, but it's you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, and obviously we know if you don't have a quarterback, you can't win in this league. And there's just some kind of, magic. I can't say magic, but there's a switch that goes on when he gets going for the playoff run. And that was, and to tell you the truth, I watching the Buffalo game, obviously playing against Buffalo for a number of years, up in that hostile environment, I was not really quite sure they were going to get that done. But every time they showed Patrick on the sideline, like he was stone-faced. And it was kind of like, and it's kind of scary, and I know I'm never going to make this analogy because I would get crushed for it, but I was at the game, I guess, when Tom Brady, when they were down to the Atlanta Falcons, I was at that Super Bowl, and I remember, I was like, hey, guys, I was with a lot of my NFL buddies. I'm like, hey, man, let's get back. We can go ahead and leave. It's halftime. Let's go ahead and get back to the hotel and forget the San Francisco traffic. And it was just like Tom never wavered, and it was just like he was, like, in between timeouts, he was just throwing the ball. It was just. And then when I saw Patrick on Sunday, I was looking in this. I was like, dude, this guy has a face of a stone cold assassin. And so that for me, just having with Patrick Mahomes in that environment, that's why I really think there's a little bit of faith. Now going into Baltimore this week is probably going to be a very, very difficult task. I don't have that same quite, even with the stone face, it's going to be very difficult. And I actually think the Ravens are going to win this weekend. I hate to say that, but I'm glad that we're in New York, New Jersey. And,
well, we're on YouTube. We're on YouTube, Tony. So some people in Kansas City are going to see this.
Oh, I know they're going to see it, but I'm just saying, like, I live there. Like right now, I'm over in a high rise over here in Jersey City. They can't throw eggs up to 20 some floors. So if I was in Kansas City, they could knock my window out. But I think you know what? One thing I definitely want to mention though is, and I'm not just giving a plug for the fullbacks, but look at the teams that are in that are playing this weekend. Obviously, Baltimore, Ricard, fullback. Pacheco is not a fullback, but he runs harder than any fullback I've ever seen.
Oh, he's a freight train.
Yeah, he's a freight train. Then you look at Detroit, it's smash mouth, 2 tight ends, fullback getting in there, smashing, and then obviously Juszczyk out in San Francisco. So I'm just like, you know what? Whenever the rubber hits the road, look at the teams that are currently going and teams and they're running the ball. Like look at McCaffrey. Like for McCaffrey, and I've been knowing him obviously because I played against his dad when he was in the Broncos. But the way he runs the ball, like it's physical, and obviously Lamar in Baltimore. So that's the kind of thing. Like this weekend's going to be good. It's going to be fun to watch some football because it's going to be smash mouth. It's going to be running the football.
Yeah. So Tony, when you talk about the Super Bowl with a Tom Brady. And I actually have the same exact story. It was, I've been to the last 20 Super Bowls and not necessarily the game, but I always go on location. And I'll never forget that year. It was halftime, and I think they were down by
28-3, right?
25 points. And it was halftime, and I said, you know what? I'm exhausted. I said, I'm going to bed. I just went to sleep. And I woke up like 2 or 3 hours later, and I said, let me just see what the final score was. And I said, that has to be a mistake. Has to be a mistake. But when you talk about,
I wish it was. I had to give the updates on WFAN that night all night, and I did not like having to do that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But when you talk about a guy like a Tom Brady or a Mahomes. And I always say, but I know it comes down to skill. But I always say that they happen to be some of the luckiest players. But I think the harder you work and the more you put into a game and the more you stay focused, I think the luckier you'll be. And do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's what I've always heard. And that's the analogy that everyone always says is that luck is when preparation and I guess skill meets. That's when you kind of create your own luck. But that's the thing, and it's like it's. And some people have it and some people don't because, I was fortunate to play in the league for 17 years. I've seen some of the most talented guys come in, but the thing that they didn't have was what's between the ears. And I think, and it's interesting, but yeah, it's definitely, you got to say luck, but just that preparation of like, you know what, you're dialed in and there's nothing going to waver me or anything like that because, and I even, to tell you the truth, and I did a few shows in Kansas City over the last couple of days, but I kind of feel like that the Chiefs and definitely Patrick Mahomes, I think they really enjoy going on the road because sometimes when you're at home, and obviously we experienced that here in New York, just because the fans are so passionate, but when things aren't going quite right when you're at home, and Kansas City fans now have gotten really spoiled, which is great because they've been to 8 or 9 AFC Championship games. But if you drop a third down or you miss a blocking assignment, the quarterback gets sacked, and there's a little rustling in the fans and all that stuff. When you're on the road, you're gonna get it anyway. You know what I mean? Like their fans are yelling at you, screaming at you, throwing snowballs at you, so you know that, and so you don't. I think you kind of play, and that's the way when I was looking at the Chiefs, I'm like they never blinked, and I think is being on the road. Being in a hostile environment, you kind of like you take on that bad boy role because the fans, they're never going to cheer. You're never going to get a cheer on the road.
That's for sure.
Yelling and screaming. And it's funny. I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, I think there's a little something said for that because, and I think San Francisco, because like when they were, and I'm not changing the subject, but when they were at home and they started out kind of slow, you could kind of feel the fans getting a little ruffled and stuff like that. But it's when you're on the road, and I think that's what Mahomes and it's going to be a little bit more difficult in Baltimore because you already know the fans are going to be throwing stuff at you, yelling at you, calling you all kind of lovely names that you can't repeat on YouTube.
Yep.
But I think that, like you said, I do believe there's some luck, but I do think that you put yourself in this situation so many times, and you look at a guy like Tom Brady, and now you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, and you're like, man, this is 27 years old, and I think it's his 6th or 7th AFC Championship game. I'm like, it's borderline. It's really it's impressive, but it's also kind of hard to believe at such a young age.
Tony, we have less than a minute left to go. Just want to quickly ask you about the Jets, and obviously Aaron Rodgers hurt 4 plays into the season. Can you see the Jets bouncing back next year, and what do you think they have to do in the offseason to get better?
Yeah, I definitely think that they'll. I'm 100% sure and positive they'll bounce back. Obviously, Aaron coming back healthy. I do believe we got to get back. I said we come still. I think we got to get you definitely got to get a solid backup quarterback. But the number one thing you got to do is address the offensive line, because you can have a future Hall of Famer, but if he's laying looking at the top of the stadium, that doesn't do it good.
Yep, absolutely. Tony Richardson, former Jets and Chiefs fullback, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you somewhere down the road. Thanks, bud.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks for having me on.
Tony Richardson, our guest. When we come back, we'll have WizKid Vinny. We'll have our ticket giveaway. It's coming up. Sports Bash, presented by Ticketbash.com, coming back after this. Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by Ticketbash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz, joined as always by Vinny Tickets, and we want to thank our guest again, former Jets and Chiefs fullback Tony Richardson, for being our guest. I joked with him about this, but this was the true case. When you get into the playoffs, at least I know when the Jets got into the playoffs, so when they arrive at their hotel the day before the game, there's this tradition of they will send one player out when the bus pulls in before they go into the hotel. They will send one player out to talk to all the beat people that are out there waiting to talk to somebody about the game the next day. And when the Jets, the 2-year run, both years to the AFC Championship game, it was always Tony Richardson, because they trusted him that he was not going to say anything the night before a game that was going to be bulletin board material for the other team. And he was just always a delight, and I'm just so glad I was able to maintain a friendship with him over the years.
Absolutely. Now I see why they chose him.
Yeah.
After having him on and speaking to him, you could see
he's
why.
A great dude. I neglected to ask him if he was going to be in Las Vegas. I'm going to text him and ask him, so hopefully we'll have him back on during Super Bowl week, because a lot of times he's busy doing things for NFL alumni and goes to a lot of the Super Bowl, so hopefully we'll get a chance to see him out in Las Vegas.
So we need to mention and let everybody know we will be on Radio Row, all right, for 3 days. That's the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before the
That'll
Super Bowl.
That'll be the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
7th, 8th, and 9th.
We're going to be doing video content from Radio Row. We're going to be doing some interviews, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put a nice little, best of package together, and that will be the radio show for LI News Radio. That's Saturday, February 10th. So we've already gotten responses from some PR people. I told you that off the air. Like, we're already we know we're going to have some really, really good guests on those 3 days and give everybody sort of a feel of what's happening in Las Vegas during Super Bowl week. And we'll see who winds up going. We've got the Chiefs and the Ravens on Sunday for the AFC title.
What do you like? Give me your 2 picks.
Listen, I mean, to me, until he proves he can win a big game in the playoffs, I can't go with Lamar Jackson, and maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I think the Chiefs go in there and win.
Well, all right.
That's what I think. I mean, you never count out the champion, and until you do it, you haven't done it.
Never count out
right?
Mahomes.
And the Lions 49ers, I do think the Niners are going to win that game, but what a great story the Lions have been in just getting to this point for the first time in the longest time, having some excitement for their fans in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it over 30 years?
Right. So they hadn't even won a playoff game in God knows how long, and now they've won 2, and they're right there in the NFC Championship game. So we've talked a lot of football. We're going to switch gears now, talk a little bit about hockey, because the Islanders made a coaching change. They've invigorated the franchise a little bit with the hiring of Patrick Roy as their new head coach. And to celebrate all the added excitement about the Islanders, we've got an Islanders ticket giveaway this week.
We sure do. So this week we'll be giving away 2 tickets for the New York Islanders. And what did we say? It's going to be February
8th.
February 8th game.
Against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Right. And that'll be 2 lower level tickets to that game. And all you have to do to enter the contest is text your name and the word Sports Bash, your name, the word Sports Bash, to 631-250-6888, name and Sports Bash, to be entered into the contest. And I will say, last couple of weeks, interest is really, really big in these contests.
Well, sure, absolutely. And interest is picking up in the Islanders as well. Sunday night's win over Dallas and even the loss to Vegas on Tuesday night, you can sense the crowd is reinvigorated, and there is an excitement level again of going to see the Islanders, and perhaps Patrick Waugh is the fire that the Islanders needed to get things going in the right direction. That brings us to WizKid Vinny this week, because Patrick Waugh has been a great story throughout his hockey career, a Hall of Fame career as a goalie with both the Montreal Canadiens and the Colorado Avalanche. He went on to coach in Colorado, went back to coaching in juniors, and he's a great story. And now he belongs to the New York Islanders, and WizKid Vinny is here to tell us more about the career of new Islanders head coach Patrick Waugh. Vinny?
Hey, Peter. Yes, Patrick Waugh, one of the greatest goalies to ever play on the ice. Just in general, just what can you say about him? Drafted in 1984 along with Mario Lemieux, he was the number 1 pick that year, and also Luc Robitaille from the Kings.
Robitaille.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So he was drafted there, and
I think I have all 3 of their rookie cards.
Not a bad 3 to have. Not a bad 3 to have. But he spent 11 years with the Montreal Canadiens originally, in Quebec native. Well, Quebec City in particular is where Waugh was from. And in those 11 years, he was part of 5 All-Star teams. Was also a Conn Smythe in the 1986 season. Also went there again in their loss to the Flames, and then also their win against the Kings in 1993. I
don't really care for the 1993 Canadiens Cup run, because along the way they beat the Islanders in the Wales Conference Final. So I try to wipe that out of my memory.
Well, I'm very grateful to put it back in your memory again. But also along with 4 Jennings and 3 Vezinas. But there was a big thing that happened with Waugh and Canadiens management.
Yeah.
He had a falling out, and he was dealt to the now Colorado Avalanche, because the year prior they were the Quebec Nordiques.
He felt embarrassed. It was a game, I think it was on Hockey Night in Canada on a Saturday night, and the Canadiens didn't even show up for the game, and he got pelted with shots, and I think he had given up 7 or 8 goals, and they finally pulled him from the game, and there's video of him going up to the Canadiens owner, president, saying, "I'm never playing for you again."
And fortunately, later things would be invented, and he'd be on their number retired and everything. But since then, there's not been a Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup since. They call it the Curse of St. Patrick.
No, I think it's probably just the curse of not having good teams.
Yes, and also
he took that magic with him to Colorado and won a couple more championships.
1995, they beat the Panthers. In 2001, they beat the Devils, of course, winning 2 more Conn Smythes, meaning he's the only player in NHL history to win 3 Conn Smythes, and he did in 3 separate decades.
And you know what? Something is very cyclical going on here, because Patrick Waugh, as a player, has 4 Stanley Cup rings, 2 with the Canadiens and 2 with Colorado. The Islanders, as a franchise, have 4 Stanley Cups all in a row from 1980 to 1983. Wouldn't it be great if both Patrick Waugh and the Islanders each got their 5th together, worked together, and win that 5th Stanley Cup?
It would be something, though. The Islanders last won their cup before Waugh even...
We don't have to talk about how long. I know it's been that long. I need somebody to help me win another one.
Hey, listen, it's a team game. It's going to be a team effort, and it's not just going to need the coaching prowess of Waugh, but it's also going to need the talent and the front office to put all those pieces together and raise the Stanley yet again.
Let's hope. I need to get Vinny tickets, but thank you for another great segment on Patrick Waugh and the new Islanders coach. But we have some exciting stuff going on here with Sports Bash and our sponsor, TicketBash.com. We've got a website now, Vinny, SportsBashMedia.com. So all of our content's going to be on this website. Big things are going on down the road here with the show.
Yeah, so as we know, we'll be down on Radio Row for the Super Bowl. The site is up, so if you want to catch some of the past episodes, if you don't have a chance to tune in on every Saturday at 8:30, the show will be up on Saturday. You can watch the interviews there, sportsbashmedia.com, and always be checking that site. Peter and I have a lot planned for the site. The show will be going on the road, maybe into some new markets very shortly as well.
So, yes, we're excited about where we're going to go with it, but obviously the big thing coming up is Las Vegas, and again, we've talked about it before, but the Super Bowl is not just about the game. There is so much going on in Las Vegas, and when we're there on Radio Row, and plus also, we're trying to plan some other things too. Like we'll roam the streets of Las Vegas, and if we see something that's interesting, we're going to shoot some videos, and we're going to try and just give everybody a feel of what it's going to be like to be in Las Vegas, which is already, to begin with, a magical place. Could you imagine what it's going to be like the week of the Super Bowl?
Oh, that'll be exciting.
And they get the Sphere and Golden Knights and all kinds of stuff going on. Celebrity basketball games, right?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to be involved with that. So lots to do. Want to thank everybody involved in the show, including our guest, former Jets and Chiefs fullback Tony Richardson. That'll do it. For Vinny Tickets, I'm Peter Schwartz saying thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us every week on Sports Bash with new episodes dropping Friday on YouTube and Saturday mornings at 8:30 on LI News Radio. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again right here on Sports Bash next week.